Do you think previous Prime Ministers, previous governments have been negligent to allow it to drag on so long instead of advocating as strongly as you've done?
Oh, look, what's important, I'm responsible for my job. My job is to advocate for Australian citizens. Chang Leia's home. Sean Turnella's home. One of the things that my government does is, at times as well, we don't shout. We're not in a contest of machismo. What we do is we get things done. And my government advocated strategically, patiently, in a calibrated way, and we achieved this outcome.
Prime Minister, just a couple of quick questions. Can you confirm that you expect to meet Mr Assange in the next day or so? And secondly, could you give us a sense...
Sorry, you expect... You didn't conclude.
Will you be meeting him in the next day or so? And also, what point did you actually realise that this was going to happen? You've been working on it for a couple of years. Was it a conversation with Joe Biden? Was a message sent from State Department of Foreign Affairs? How did that play out?
Well, it played out over a long period of time. I've said that I have raised it at every opportunity at the highest level. I know that I've received a message from the US ambassador here that they are also pleased that this has been resolved. The first time I raised it was with President Biden at the NATO summit in Madrid. I raised it also with other senior members of the US administration. But this was always the case, to be very clear, that because of the separation between the political representatives and the judiciary, this was always going to be something that required discussion, patient with the Department of Justice. And certainly over that period of time, there has been an issue as well. I've exchanged very directly with Mr Assange's lawyers, as have our diplomatic representatives. And Mr Assange's lawyers have been very determined to achieve an outcome, and of course the nature of his incarceration in Belmarsh has meant that then communication had to then be got through. Stephen Smith, our High Commissioner, has visited him on a number of occasions. The details of the plea deal were worked through over a period of time. But what we have been focused on very clearly, and for some of the issues that have raised with me, it was the case that this was the only way that I could see a resolution being achieved. And the objective here was to conclude these matters. They have been concluded. They've been concluded in a way that has achieved the outcome that was sought, which is Julian Assange is now home here in Australia.
Just following up on Ms James's question, do you plan to meet with Mr Assange in coming days?
I've got Parliament tomorrow, so I'll be here tomorrow. I'm not going to assist. I'm aware of Mr Assange's movements in coming days, but I'm not about to. That's a matter for his personal privacy. Obviously, he's been through a considerable ordeal. It's up to him when he makes a statement. I was pleased to speak with him immediately upon the wheels touching the ground. I was quite pleased to be the first person here who he spoke with, which was mutually worked out that would occur. And while we're in this press conference, while some people are watching the plane and whether Mr Assange has exited the plane, other people will be focused on kick-off.
Prime Minister, have you spoken to the US President since there was a breakthrough, and how do you think this result will shape the US-Australia relationship going forward, our closest ally?
We have a very positive relationship with the United States. I regard President Biden as a friend. I regard the relationship as being absolutely central, one of the three pillars of our foreign policy here, along with our relationship in the region and our support for multilateral forums, including the United Nations. I engage, one of the things that I do, one of the reasons why you get outcomes, is I don't come into press conferences and talk about the personal details of discussions I have.
I was going to ask whether there was a breakthrough moment or a particular turning point in these negotiations, a moment when you realised that it would be possible.
I think there were probably a number of steps along the way, to be frank.
Can you tell us anything about them?
There were moments when this required a range of decisions to be made by the Department of Justice in the United States, which of course is not subject to political influence. They're independent. If you look at the whole range of people who've been to the United States, I'm surprised that some of it was missed by the people in this room, some of the visits, but not up to me to indicate that. Go back and have a look at some diaries and who's travelled to the United States in recent months. We wanted to be focused on an outcome, and these things don't come together till they all come together. You know, there are steps it required. A plea deal requires a two-sided agreement between the Department of Justice and Julian Assange. It requires, in this case, Mr Assange to receive advice from his legal team, and we have been in contact with his legal team over a period. He had a legal team in the UK led by his longest legal advisor, Jen Robinson, who was the conduit for direct discussions with Mr Assange, but he also had a very good legal team in the United States. Kevin Rudd worked very hard, as did Stephen Smith, as did the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, as did the Attorney General, as did others as well, to achieve. Karen.
Prime Minister, the point's been made that your predecessors did not advocate for this outcome and that you have chosen to do so. And you've talked a bit about why you did that. But you've personally been very engaged since before you were even opposition leader with this. So can you tell us why you have chosen to stake so much on this, given the US relationship is so important and it must have put things under pressure at times? Why go so hard for this outcome for someone who, as you have made the point, divides the population in terms of what he did?
I believe in standing up for Australian citizens, and I make that very clear. I made it clear from the beginning. I had the same position as opposition leader on all of these issues as I've had as Prime Minister. And as Prime Minister of Australia, you have an opportunity to make a difference. I've said repeatedly across a range of areas, I'm not here to occupy the space. I'm not here necessarily to ensure that people will always be supportive by going through the details of what we are doing as we are doing them. And some people have been very critical that we weren't doing enough. What we were doing was exactly the right thing to achieve an outcome. I'm an outcomes-based politician. I believe in making a difference. We can make a difference. The United States are our friends. The United States was, of course, in a position, though, where because of the separation of powers, I believe in that as well, and have always understood that due to their system. So it wasn't as simple as me sitting down with President Biden or any other US elected representative and achieving this outcome. Diplomacy is something that must be patient, something that must be built on trust, something that works through stages. We have done that, and Mr. Assange and I this evening, as I said, I've never met Mr. Assange. I had a very warm discussion with him this evening, though. He was very generous in his praise of the Australian government's efforts. The Australian government stands up for Australian citizens. That's what we do. Thanks very much.